Hello. This is Captain Turtle Waffle speaking, and I wish to welcome you wholeheartedly to this first edition of the Total Waffle Testing Ground, where we delve into questions that the game poses. And one is, what is a good way of dealing with the infamous Mumakil? A lot of this can be carried over to the Great Beasts, but to be fair, they are slightly different in certain aspects, so we will have to dedicate another video to those. For now, we are dealing with the Mumakil of Harad, and potentially the Ardenaim. What we want to test today are 10 units of different types. So, we have some armor-piercing archers, we have our skirmishers with javelins and some axe throwers in there, and then we are testing out some siege as well. So without further ado, let's get to it. We start the day off with the Dunedain Steelbowmen. Overall, tackling beasts of this kind with archers is very tricky, because these are tanky enemies to fight, and even Steelbowmen with their armor-piercing arrows will need to get a considerable amount of rounds fired in order to have a chance of taking these beasts down. As it stands, I can tell you that the Steelbowmen performed poorly. They were among the worst of this entire testing. They killed 0, 0, and then a couple. I gave them a unit of spearmen. Simple spearmen that wouldn't really do anything major other than hold the line for a few seconds while the Steelbowmen got a few extra rounds off. And in that instance, the Steelbowmen did actually fell to beasts. That being said, they still lost every single one among their number, so I can't in good conscience use them as a good example of a counter. Then I thought, well, maybe the Dunedain Bodyguard will do better. I know there are fewer of them, but they do deal slightly better damage, they have longer range, better accuracy, maybe it'll be different. It was worse. The 0 deaths they managed to cause did not change regardless of whether they were given supporting units or not. It was a bloodbath for the Dunedain in this one. Choosing their archers is simply not the way to go. Then I thought, well, what are the units of armor-piercing quality do we have when it comes to archers? The Temple Marksmen. And they performed slightly better, due to them having more troops per battalion. That is the only thing I can really think of. Their volleys were bigger, and all in all, they did better, because 10 more arrows per volley made quite a difference as you reach the tipping point for the Mumakil, and when they actually, well, tip over, if you will. Their stats ended up not doing better without support, but when a simple orc band was put in front of the Mumakil to soak up some damage for a few seconds, the marksman ended up killing every single Mumakil. And as such, I can confidently say that the Temple Marksmen of Mordor are a good option if they are supported. If they stand on their own, they will fall. Let's move away from the archers and over to the next class of units. We are dealing with skirmishers now. And let us start with the Lindar Mariners. These are very good units that are accessible in the early game to the High Elves. They were the ones who sparked my curiosity on this matter, because they came up in my High Elf campaign. They are very good at what they do. They managed to kill all Oliphaunts in all cases on their own. The only real difference was in how many troops they lost, and it was 3, 5, 4, and 4 respectively throughout the tests. It was, a handful of losses compared to the fact that they took out an entire group of Mumakil, sometimes even with a single volley. It was very, very impressive, as the campaign also attests, where we managed to defeat 2 groups of great beasts of Mordor with 1 group of Lindar mariners. Overall, I can say, for countering great beasts and Mumakil, Lindar mariners probably constitutes the best option that the High Elves have. Let's move on. Now we come to the Coastal Wardens. Now these are interesting. These are the cheapest units in this entire list. And their performance does reflect this compared to the Lindar Mariners. But despite that, I do believe that they are impressive in their own right. We have a David and Goliath situation here. On their own, they do not kill the entire battalion of Mumakil because the Mumakil get too close to them. A couple taken out in each round, no more. But the wonderful thing was, if supported, even with just the lowest tier that we could get in front of them, they managed to reliably take out the Mumakil. And that is a good result, because it means that you can actually literally go out with 1 unit of Gondor militia and 1 unit of Coastal Wardens, or just 2 units of Coastal Wardens, and take out these Mumakil without any issue. It is far and away the most cost-effective way to deal with these creatures. Let's take a look at what the dwarves can offer. This unit impressed me much, perhaps more than any of the others, because they went 5 for 5 on all kill tallies, just like the Lindar Mariners, but I thought that their slightly lower range and more ad hoc throwing patterns, very characteristic of axe throwers in this game, would kind of go against them, but they managed to overcome it. Now, they were not as near perfect counters as the Lindar Mariners were. However, they did, actually on one occasion, record fewer deaths, counterbalanced with the fact that on the other times, the Mumakil actually reached them and their death tallies climbed into the 80s. Overall though, these King's Warriors are pretty darned good, even without being supported by anything. Even if reached by the Mumakil, they will usually be able to micro their way into throwing a few more axes and actually manage to take down those big Oliphaunts regardless. So a great little unit, and probably one of the best counters that the dwarves have, though perhaps not the best. We'll get back to that. We are going into the siege equipment. How did the Ballista do? Actually, I thought they could have done better. The Ballista crew would typically take down 3 Mumakil before being countered in melee. Of course, once a siege unit is in melee, it's game over. It just is. These are a good option, but they do need support. That said, if supported, they can defeat Mumakil pretty easily. Moving on to the Catapult, which actually surprised me in how good they could be. They have 2 options. You can use fire, you can use stones without any flames, but you should use the flames. And here's why. When they cast their little stony stones without any flame on them, regular shots as it were, the projectiles seem to aim for the ground, for the base of whatever they're going for. And when they aim with fire, they seem to aim higher. And this is really good, especially when targeting Mumakil, because they're really tall. Their hitbox is countered very well by the flaming ammo shots by the catapults, but less so with the plain old rocks. Plain old rocks, no good. The catapults actually cleaned house on the first encounter with the Mumakil, and then I tried switching up the shots to do without flaming ammo, and they just didn't kill nearly as many. We were on like 2s, and as soon as I went back to using flaming ammo for the tests, wouldn't you know it, the kills mounted again. Then we went into the 4s and the 5s, and everything was lovely. The very straightforward plunging shot of that can pierce these Mumakil with flaming shots. They just do it. They get the job done, and they do it very well. It also helps a little bit that the beasts are coming toward them. If they were moving at a wacky angle or going like horizontally in another direction, yeah, you might not get as good results because you just wouldn't be able to fire at them very accurately. That's where, say, the skirmishers would do better. I did have hopes for the trebuchets. They surprised me though, and not in a good way. I thought they'd do better because of their longer range and because of the fact that they can kind of preload a shot before their first volley, meaning that as soon as the enemy's into range, they can fire within a couple of seconds. I thought this would give them an edge. I was wrong, very wrong, because they are relatively inaccurate at that range. So, what really ended up happening, most of all, was a low kill tally, about the same as the catapults did without flaming shot. That is quite disappointing. And the trebuchets also did even worse if we took the flaming shot away. They would kill like maybe one. So, really, not the best option. Catapults are far better than trebuchets, specifically for dealing with this. I have often felt that trebuchets do a relatively good job of pummeling big masses of units from afar, but targeting Mumakil, beasts, trolls, etc. with trebuchets, based on this test, it simply will not work. If you are at all to tackle beasts with trebuchets, they will need good support, a bit of time and help. The last bit of siege and the last unit for this list here comes in the form of the Dwarven Catapult. Now, the Dwarven Catapult takes a good long while to load, particularly with their grape shot, but the grape shot was really effective because essentially it has the potential to kill the entire unit of Mumakil in a single volley. The problem is, it might not do it in a single volley, and if so, the Dwarven Catapult is in trouble because it has a hard time reloading before the Mumakil closest distance. But, nonetheless, 2 out of 3 times, every Mumakil was dead in the first volley, and in the cases where they weren't all dead in the first volley, there was maybe 1 remaining. 1 is of course enough to completely scupper your catapult crew, but when that all is said, the Dwarven Catapult with Grape Shot is an excellent counter. So, closing thoughts. Well, the Lindar Mariners, they're fantastic. King's Warriors, your skirmishers in general, they are really good. Siege can be used, although trebuchets, not so much. Catapults are better. Ballistas can be used to some extent. They're pretty good, but don't discount the catapults. Maybe I'll have to do a Dwarven Ballista test sometime in the future. Let me know. But the regular Gondorian Ballista did a mediocre but passable job, especially if supported. The Dwarven Catapult is where it's at in the siege department though. And if you are to use armor-piercing archers or heaven forfend crossbows with their slow loading times, well then you would really need to support them in order to get anything out of them, because otherwise the Mumakil would close distance way too quickly. One thing that I would be very interested in doing as a follow-up to this video though is to test archer cavalry. Can you get a decent counter out of archer cavalry, and if so, where do you go? Do we go with the riders of Khand? Are we going to Rohan? Are we going mounted skirmishers? They can probably do some good work too. So let me know if a test like that would be interesting. Now we have dealt with the on-ground options. Let's also see what the cavalry can do. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed this little alternative video, and I hope you'd like to see me do more of it. Have a lovely day. Captain Turtle Waffle, considerably out.